Hello, and welcome back to Spotlight, where we dive into deeper ideas through your mind and through science, and we uncover things in our own lives to hopefully inspire you guys. Ooh, that sounded right. I am here with my host, Love. Love, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm well. My name's Dan, and let's get it started. So we just recorded one. We're re-recording another one. We're we're double batching it up here.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, we just quickly sat down and we talked about some notes and some things we'd like to talk about. And we talked about a whole nother subject that could have been a podcast, but it was more personal, so it's not going to ever be a podcast. What's your superpower?
I think I know sometimes, and then I'm like, I have no fucking idea.
All right. So what's your what's your superpower now? Right now, what is your superpower?
My unyielding desire for growth.
There you go. So you have that drive to just want to fucking be better.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to fucking be better.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does. But it's the drive that you need to keep up. And I think that willingness, like you said, is the key to it all. I would say my superpower, thanks for asking, is... before we start it, is I would say my influence on children is one of my superpowers. We were just talking, I asked you how your son was, and I was saying how every time, like, he's home or I see him, I always make sure I go say hi to him. And I was saying how he would put his screen down, and he would look at me and be like, "What's up?" And he'd just go back to his screen. But, like, to me, that's just, like...
But there are certain people where he won't even put the screen down.
Right. You got to force him to get his ass down here, and he's like, "Oh, okay, bye."
Yeah.
And then, yeah. He avoided me when I asked him if he wanted to try a little bit of the salad. He's He totally ignored me. He said, "Who are you?" And then we were just talking also about our cousins who are triplets, a little younger. They're all freshmen now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Like, you hear all these older people say, like, "Oh, man, time flies." Now that I'm getting older, I'm like, holy shit, time is flying. What is happening? But I would say I'm enjoying every goddamn moment. So I would say that's my superpower, is my superpower to influence kids. And so also there's a guy on our Discord community who he was saying in this new game we're playing. I think I just talked about it on the last one. Was it? Or what did I talk? Okay.
New World.
Yeah, New World. He was saying how the marketplace in this game New World is you can essentially run the market. He was saying it's like the stock market. And at one point I said to him, like, he said he loves auctioneering. Like, he loves, like, diving deep into, like, where the market's at. He's like, so, all right, so if you're level 100, you need these materials. He'll buy up all the materials on the market and then mark them up so that he can make profit off it. He did that with one item. He made 10,000 coin in overnight, which is, like, a lot of fucking coin in this game. So, and I said to him, as he was, like, told the story, and, like, so we have, like, a little close community, and we're talking, we tell each other these little tips so that we can kind of control the market, essentially, or just, gain benefit from doing this in the games. And so I said to him, that's a superpower right there, man. And I've been saying that lately to a lot of people. Like, I'm like, that's your superpower. That's awesome. And a lot of people have kind of ignored me, or I've kind of gotten, like, weird looks. But I think that's a fun way to just to start a conversation, to just, like, bring a childish, playful thing to a conversation. What's your fucking superpower, And so I think that's it's fun. It's fun because I think your superpowers change throughout the day, throughout your years, throughout your living.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I mean, do you have any other superpowers you want to go over, or do you want to just move on to the next subject? Because we figured out we have a lot of notes that we can go over right now.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is that I think one of the reasons that you are able to connect with younger generations
Mm-hmm.
is because you strive for authenticity.
And kids are the most goddamn authentic
They're so
beings out there.
perceptive to authenticity and aware of bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, kids learn not to say anything when they smell bullshit, but they know it.
Not those kids. Not those triplet kids, dude.
They'll call you on it.
They call me. They'll be like, "You're weird." Carly, especially, she's like, "You're like weird." I'm like, I don't care. It's a fun. But then that goes with the influence of influencing children or influencing kids or the younger generation. That it's like that if people are calling me weird and people are talking about me positive or negative way, that means I made an impact in their life somehow, some way, whether if it's good or bad. And to me, I always feel like I'm doing good. That makes me think I'm doing good. So let's move on. Let's move on to other things. Real quick, I have just a quick little list. See if anything correlates with with what you have. Fighting or battling with yourself, dead-end relationships, fantasy living, scheduling, hierarchy of needs, your superpower. We already did that one. I'm going to delete that. So there's two on here that you actually said, scheduling and hierarchy of needs. We talked about hierarchy of needs. I don't remember I feel like we did release it. That it could have been the first one. But I don't know. Let's just give a quick summary. Or you said you have a new way of thinking about it, right?
It's more of a reinforced.
Okay.
So
more of a solid foundation of understanding it.
Yeah. So you have needs. You have basic needs.
Yeah.
You've got to eat. You've got to have a roof over your head, which means you have to be able to facilitate those things with some sort of income.
Sure.
You have social needs for the feeling of like love and belonging. So you have a need for relationships. What are some other needs you can think of?
Spiritual needs. You need to like spiritually be connected. Physical needs.
So
emotional. All of the
growth.
Yeah.
Cognitive needs.
Mental.
I mean, we're both kind of low-key learning junkies, so.
Yeah, I like learning.
We like to consume information.
I like to and I had this thought yesterday, I think. Like, oh yeah, podcaster said it. How Tom Segura said it when he was talking about him being when he was younger, like he sucked in high school. Went to college, was so much better. And that's because he applied himself. As a lot of parents say, you got to apply yourself. At least that's what my parents told me. My mother told me. I think lately, or not even recently, but just since I've began my journey from transferring from racing dirt bikes to getting into music to starting this podcast, it's just been about, all right, what interests me? Birds interest me. I want to learn more about birds. I ended up volunteering at a wildlife refuge and worked with birds. I realized it's shit work, and it just wasn't my type of vibe, and so I left. And so that's the knowledge is like, all right, I'm gonna dive deeper into what I like and what I want to know, and it's become more natural.
So you recognize the direction that you want to head in by how it feels.
Like I didn't want to drive here. I didn't want to get up this morning to come here and record this. But I know it benefits me to no end, and I know this is what I want to do with the rest of my life.
And how do you feel once you've gotten here and you're doing it?
Well, good, obviously. It's funny. I have this thing where I'm such an introvert, but when I become into a social setting, I'm just so much more of an extrovert, and like I don't have to think about interacting with people. I know people. I know, like, so last night me and Kaylee went to Costco, and like she wants to go at 6 o'clock when everybody goes. When if she wants to go when it's at peak rush hour, and I am against all of that. But she ends up winning. Go
So are
figure.
you an introvert or are you just
I'm an introvert,
are
100%.
you energy sensitive?
I'm an introvert, 100%. It was not until I started working on myself these last several years until I realized how to become an extrovert, which is, I think, what everybody needs. They need to be both introvert and extrovert. You need to recognize which one you are more of, and do less of that and more of the other one. Or, I mean, but that's the thing. Being an introvert is very beneficial. Like,
See, but I remember you when you were little, and although, yes, you were quiet,
yeah.
you were only quiet in specific settings.
Well, around people I'm not comfortable being around. Like, I'm around you, I could talk for hours. Around the family, I could talk for hours. My friends talk for hours. But now that I've worked on that skill, I've now can talk to strangers for hours. Like yesterday, some guy was fishing near the lake near me, and any luck? Nah, yeah, just got a 3-pounder over there. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. I got one over there. There's some big fish over on that side, and just a quick, like, and then he talked about some other shit, and I'm just like, yeah, and then I left the conversation talking shit about him. I'm like, it was funny because I was telling Kaylee how a lot of the people in our community, so we live in a community with 3 little lakes in it, and a lot of the people who fish at these lakes are like, they're kind of new fishermen. You could tell they're new fishermen. This guy was the type of guy, he read everything online. He read how to fish, how to do this, and so that was my point before, is that I'm able to recognize the type of person. When we went to Costco, I know the person in front of us who's driving that car. Granted, I'm out on the road all the time. I know how to read the road, but I just know people's moves before they even make them. But that's because I worked on that skill. And I put my time in. From racing dirt bikes, we've traveled thousands of miles, to delivering DoorDash. I'm traveling hundreds of miles a week. So yeah, that's another superpower.
Would you say
of mine.
you've gained a multisensory perception of it?
Yeah. I mean, see, when I think of multisensory, I think of like layers. Multi. I think of many. Yeah, I would say I'm able to like do more at a higher capacity. But I think that comes with age.
It comes with age, and it comes with practice. It comes with intention.
Intention, that's the key word here.
Yes.
Asterisk that shit.
But then for other people, it's also learned as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
Depending on what it's applied to. So one of the things with scheduling that's really important is we have these needs and we have a desire to go in a specific direction. So you want to build your music career.
Yeah.
You want to build an online community. I'm working on building an online community, and we're sort of teaming in that area.
Hold on, let's plug it real quick. What's your online community? The podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. Mine's a Linktree, linktr.ee/dhad. Linktree/dhad. Find all my links there. All my beats, everything. Thank you. Quick plug.
Shameless and beautiful. So
I'll do it the next one. Don't tempt me.
So we have these needs that have to be fulfilled.
Right.
And oftentimes we look at a lot of them like they are chores. And some of them we don't give enough time to. So for instance, I often have the trouble of, I really love connecting with people on a deep level and sharing ideas that helped shift their perspectives so that they can move forward in their life. it's something I really enjoy doing. It's something I've done naturally my whole life. Almost every conversation that I get into that I am able to really step into my authentic self, that's what's happening. Now, I would like to do this on a more like
Intellectual.
professional
Yeah.
level. I would like to be a little bit more precise about it,
Sure.
and I'm
Sure.
learning that. And it's one of those things that really popped up for me in my career as a hairstylist. It's something that I would do in my chair all the time. But you can only ask
Around your chair.
certain questions.
So,
You can
what were
only talk
those?
about certain topics. And even then, like, topics can be brought up to you, but you can't always dive into them. And these are the topics that are usually the topics that need to be talked about to make major shifts.
So, what are key? Like, all right, you're cutting somebody's hair. We'll make it very specific. You're cutting somebody's hair, and they say, they say something like, I don't, God, I can't. I need to, that's what I need to work on. I need to work on like coming up with examples on the spot. I'll get that. That's what this podcast is for us to learn and grow and our community to grow with us.
Yes.
Like what are the like little key words or key phrases where you like would, I guess for anything, it doesn't have to be sitting down cutting hair. It's just anything. Are you like, what are the key things that open that door to say more questioning, or like what have you noticed that? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do not.
Yeah, that you got a head tilt. That's what my dog does to me. He said, "What the fuck?" um. All right, a better way to ask this then is, what's a way for you to drive a conversation? Like, do you recognize when the conversation is getting boring? And if you do, what is your action
Here's the thing.
to that?
If the person I am talking to is being authentic, it's not boring to me.
Well, let's talk a stranger, because this person can be inauthentic but talk about something that you like. And then I mean, but that's the thing. It's not really affecting you. It's kind of two people talking about something that they can relate on. Because there's been a lot of conversations I've been in where you recognize how people are bullshitting you.
Except I'm the type of conversationalist that if that's what's happening, I'm just not engaging. And eventually it just turns into silence.
That is my weakness. That is my kryptonite.
It's actually one of the reasons why I think quite a few of my clients like me.
Yeah.
Is because I don't force conversation. You can sit in my chair. If you want to talk about something, we'll talk about it. Trust me, I will engage in the conversation.
Well, you have a gentle soul too. You're a very welcoming human being.
Thank you.
Which is, I think we need all the people in this world to be like that.
I think a lot of people are like that. It's just they learned that they're not safe to be that way with just anyone, and they forget how to determine who is safe.
When I took a leadership program, Landmark Education. I did it over in Philly. They're all over the country. Amazing program. It really taught me a lot about communication and being a leader, impacting your community, your society, your family, the people around you, impacting yourself. The one thing that I got out of it, and I remember, like, this was, I think, the height of when I just got done doing it. And, like, I lost my father, and it was, like, a year or two later I took this course. So, like, it was beginning of my journey to where I'm at now. One of my friends I grew up with, I'm not really friends with them anymore. It's not that I'm not friends with them anymore. It's just they're a little too intense for my mental stability. And I needed to distance myself from them and kind of get them out of my life. It's hard, but I have to accept that, and I have been accepting that. But the one thing that always comes up for me is my one friend said, I said to my one friend, these are two different scenarios. My one friend says to me, I said to him that you need to, I said, I trust everybody. And like at that time when I said that, I didn't understand that. But to now, to this point, I still stick by that. I still act like I trust everybody. But I don't allow that person to affect my trust towards them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So here we go. Look, I'm changing my vocabulary. For example, if I'm around a sketchy person and I know, like, I already know that person's sketchy, but my goal going into, say, having a conversation with that person is, what am I going to find? This is part of being like a leader, and leadership is what interests that person, and whatever interests that person, I'm going to talk about that. And you probably know this from being a hairstylist, that when you talk about something that somebody likes or loves, you cannot shut them the fuck up. And they will tell you the same story tenfold. And so, yeah, I would say that's one of my other superpowers, being a chameleon. That's I learned that in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. No, I learned that in ACN, Network Marketing Group, Communications Network Marketing Group. There's the shark, there's the chameleon, there's the whale, and there's another one, the fourth one that they used. But I feel like that I hold that superpower of being a chameleon, of adapting to every situation and every scenario I come across. Shit, it's kind of off topic. I just keep bringing it back around to superpowers. I like my superpowers. I just think it's fun. It's such a fun way to add superpowers to like a conversation. It's just a fun way to engage, I guess. But let's go, I guess, back to scheduling. What was the point before I rambled on about that? All of that.
So you have the things that you want to do and you want to experience, and you have the things that you need to experience. Socializing is one of my needs, feeling love and belonging and connection. The problem is I will go for periods of time where I'm not connecting, and then I will go through other periods of time where I'm over connecting. So
Feel that.
People will call me and want to talk, and it'll go on for 4 or 5 hours where I'm listening and I'm supporting. And while I love that, it takes away from the other needs in that day that have to get done. And when I don't have my needs each day fulfilled, there's no more energy to move forward in my life in the direction I want to go. Scheduling.
Because you've wasted all of that energy on listening to that person talk about their dog and how their dog ran away and how it came back. And
while
I have so many stories of that.
It is important. That kind of connection is super important. Yeah. But it's actually far more impactful if you schedule it. So the thing that I've been doing this week is, like, my closest friends that I really enjoy spending time talking to and giving emotional support to, and they offer it to me as well. I'm still learning to receive emotional support, so that'll be another episode.
That's what this podcast is for. That's bringing some shit out of you that these people are like, what?
Yeah.
But it's the power of family, man. That's what this is right here. This podcast represents.
But I literally went in and scheduled them, and I've, let them know ahead of time. The boundary is I have an hour. I have 1 hour. Right. It's on a clock. So instead of sort of meandering, they
hear the beep over the phone. Beep.
Instead of meandering in the conversation, to catch up, they will get straight to the point that they really want to connect with me on, and we will get straight into the nitty-gritty of being our authentic selves immediately.
When you're talking to them, do you like say, "All right, look, I got 20 more minutes"? Like, do you? Or you don't put that much pressure on the whole time thing?
I will if we're getting close toward the end and, like, they're into a really deep part and they kind of need to still work through it. I'll be like, hey, I do have another call at this time. And I schedule myself to have like a good 15 minutes between each chunk, which I am trying to use for like bio breaks. So getting in movement, breathing, and hydration in between tasks, which gives you better productivity and a whole lot more like concentration.
Yeah.
So I have that sort of like cushion if they still need to sort of finish up their thought, but I will give them that heads up that I am going to be moving on, because my boundaries of needing to go through my schedule the way I originally intended to so that I get all of my needs met is important. I am worth taking that time for myself, no matter how much I love them. I do love
Yeah.
them. But sometimes what happens is we, I think because we're often very intuitive, and people who are on this journey, you may not call it intuition yet, but you're multisensory. You feel the energy of a conversation, or you recognize the emotions in body language. You're reading the subtext. And what happens there is you often will connect in, and you just kind of want to stay there. But if you're not careful, you're pouring from a cup instead of letting it overflow.
Do you remember I may have asked you this. Do you remember the specific moment when, I think I did the last time, the specific moment when you, because I'm sitting here thinking, there's so many different life hacks, let's call them, that there's scheduling, there's taking yourself out of a situation, um, yoga, stretching, going for a run, getting the sunlight onto you, eating healthy. Like, there's so many little hacks and so many ways to do things. Because I'm trying to think of the moment when I started. Let's say, because I remember how I got into the leadership program, but like I'm trying to think about the moment when what kickstarted me to set myself up for that moment to get into that leadership program. Our aunt came to me and said, you should do this course. And I had the money at the time, and I dumped a lot of fucking money into it, and it was so worth it. Because I'm thinking of the people who don't have it, right? Don't have any of this, or don't have any idea on where to start or what to do. Because somebody can find an idea on what to do, but also it might not be the best. It might not be the idea we tell them. Like, how does somebody find that idea? How does somebody kickstart that? For somebody, say somebody's overwhelmed and they don't know what to do, they don't know where to start, or they'll try to start and they don't end up following through, or it's like, and I would say, now that I'm thinking about it, one little thing that I've done in the past is, if I hear a word like introvert, I hear introvert and I didn't know what it meant, I'll go and look it up. I used to do that all the time. Now I don't do that anymore. I realize, for me, because I've started that little thing, like, all right, if I hear a word, or I hear a phrase, like, all right, I'm going to go look this up. And then looking that up might lead me into finding a book that interests me about the brain, or interests me about our body movement or our body language. So I guess I just answered my own question there. It's like, that's like I think that's one of the little hacks that I started out with. I remember the moment when I first started writing in a notebook. I broke my shoulder. I had to get surgery. It was like I finally was able to like go outside, and I had, for months on end, I had time to myself. Everybody, my parents were at work. My mom and stepdad were at work. and I just had the house to myself. You know, I've had the privilege to not work as much as a lot of people do in society. But now I'm at a tipping point where it's like, all right, I need to step it up here. But anyways, I am with this podcast and all the other stuff. I remember that moment when I first sat down. I walked to the river in my little fucking sling. Or I might not. I might have been in the butterfly brace where it's like it pulls your shoulders back. And I remember going to a specific spot. It was real trashy. We lived right off the Delaware in West Deptford, and it was kind of trashy, but it was still a beautiful place to be and look at the city, look at Philadelphia. And I remember sitting on a log and just writing. I remember looking up into the sky and thinking, like, what do I even write? And that's what I wrote down. What do I even write? And, you know, that's, I think, that's the moment for me where it all, like, I was curious about growth and whatnot. And, you know, I really started asking myself, what do I want to fucking do with my life? And here I am, podcasting with love. Ha! So yeah, I guess I asked the question and answered the question myself. So, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about that?
So if you could
all goes back to
boil
scheduling.
that down.
Yeah. Boil it down. What do you mean?
Yeah, everything you just said. Try and sum it up. What was your question?
You just got to be curious, I would say. Just be curious about things and follow that curiosity. If you're wondering what a word is, go look it up. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curiosity is really, really, really important.
And I think curiosity, wonder are in that same category.
Mm-hmm.
Or why, even why.
Yeah.
Asking why, or you know, I said last night to one of my Discord friends that I'm like I just ask a lot of questions. I don't know, it's me. I'm gonna get asked questions. I'll always keep asking questions.
That's brilliant.
And my one friend's like, yeah, we know you ask a lot of questions. I mean, look, some of them are nonsense, and I know when I'm being nonsense, but people look at it as a problem. There's a thought right there. So if I know I'm being like a nudge or I'm acting, Grandpop says that to me, that I'm like, he's like, you're always acting. Like, he knows like my real intention, but he knows I'm like putting on a face. And which I kind of do. And I've always just leaned into that. But the people who receive that always are thinking like I have an issue, or that's wrong to think that way, or it's wrong to say something like that. But in my mind, I'm like, I know, I don't mean that. I'm just being a character right now. And so so here's a breakthrough. I'm having a fucking breakthrough moment right now. Just great. God damn it. Breakthrough moments do that. Breakthrough moments will fuck your brain up and just freeze you. I'm frozen in time right now. Our thoughts are very layered. And as we get older and grow up and move on and learn new things, we start to uncover those layers, just to realize there's more layers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that this podcast represents. And thank you guys so much for stopping by here on Spotlight. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, and please give us some feedback so that we can create more value for you and inspire you guys, because that's all we want to do.
Yeah, if you guys have questions or topics that you're interested in, please share them with us.
Yeah, because, I mean, we can run all day on talk about anything, but, like, we want to know what the community wants, because that's what we're here. We're here to build a community, in which we just talked about. It's all about the community, but it's surrounding yourself around the right community. So, we're going to get it. Anyways, ciao!